I wanted to ask you about Kobe Pace.
Sure.
Obviously, you were familiar with him. He seems to have a very complete skill set. I know you haven't had him here yet, but what's held him back maybe from being the kind of back he seems capable of being?
If you watch, he was kind of the guy, and then he got hurt, and it really was competition. So it's not anything that he's not capable of doing. It's just very, very competitive situation. And when you look at the situation he's leaving, man, you had 3 starting caliber backs in that room, and so it's hard to find enough reps for 3 guys of that caliber, right? And so he does have a complete skill set. It was exciting to watch him this spring kind of adapt to what we're doing, and I'm excited about where he's going to be. He's done a really good job this summer of transitioning his body. So there's really nothing that he can't do that he wasn't doing. He was just coming from a highly competitive situation and just wanted more of an opportunity to really go see if he can solidify himself as the guy.
As you head into your second fall camp with this coaching staff and this program, are you structuring anything differently than you did this time last year?
Yeah, great question. We are doing things a little bit different with fall camp this year. Last year, coming in the door wasn't really fully aware of what the calendar was. I hadn't lived it for a year, didn't really know what the academic summer school structure was like. And so last year, summer school went all the way until the 12th of August. And so when you're doing things at 7:30 in the morning and not coming back till 6 at night, you really don't have an opportunity to have a true fall camp. And so this year, tried to get ahead of it. And so we front-loaded the summer and went summer 1, summer 2. And then the guys are here for summer 3, but they're not in class, so they're training. And so we've been able to kind of back off and let their bodies recover. But that's going to give us the flexibility to be able to have a true fall camp. So we'll have more time together as a team. We'll also have more time from a meeting standpoint because we're not worried about guys being in class. We can structure our camp like a fall camp that I'm used to. And I think that's going to pay dividends because, when you talk about building a team, that's really, when you build your team is during fall camp and having ample time for those guys to be able to be prepared, one, but then spend a lot of time together.
Tony, with so many guys coming back on defense, how excited are you about this defense, and how much more can you do with an experienced group than last year when everybody was learning from scratch?
I think you have a chance to be even more consistent because now guys know what the expectation is. They've seen what they're capable of. The coaches have a better understanding of the personalities, the temperaments, and when they can and cannot push and how to push. And biggest thing is you got competition too. Right? Competition is really what drives everything. When you got guys that have competition, when they walk out on the practice field every single day and they know that I got to put my best foot forward, or the guy behind me is gonna gain ground, that allows you to maximize your potential. And I think it also gives us the ability to help the guys transitioning at the areas where we don't quite have as much depth or experience, especially at the corner position. So I'm really excited to see these guys get after it. I'm excited that they're going to challenge the offense to make the offense get better, especially in the trenches. So I'm excited about that.
When you're trying to build a winner and build a winning environment, can it help when you bring in players who have that experience, Kobe and Malcolm, and have they helped with that?
So far, we've gotten really, really good returns from those guys. And the biggest thing is first and foremost, they're 2 outstanding young men. And all the other guys that we brought in, have a lot of depth to them, a lot of character about them. But they understand, what the expectation is. And so I think when you're trying to build and establish, that winning culture, you got to work to that, right? So for me, I've talked about the standard. I can say what the standard is, right? But the players have to visualize that, experience that. So they're kind of working towards that. But when you have guys that come from a situation where, they've kind of had a standard, they can say things in ways that maybe I can't, right? And they can talk to each other in ways that maybe I can't, talk to them, so to speak. So it does help. And then it also helps us as coaches, me in particular, because they can see the vision. right? And that's the key with those guys. But really excited about Malcolm and Kobe in particular. But even, you look at Tony Muskett and the success that he's had. He just came in with a different, different level of confidence. And that's really what it is. But you have to have experience, and really to build confidence, it's consistent repetition of doing things the right way that builds your confidence.
Tony, we just heard from Mike today, and given who he is, everything that he's been through, don't mean to put you on the spot with this one, but if you had one word to describe Mike Hollins, what would it be and why?
I just say perseverance. I think that's a word that we say a lot. But it's hard to embody that, and it's hard to describe that. We say that person has perseverance. Well, what did they do? And so what you saw, what we've seen in Mike is a guy amidst all of the things that have been added to his life. He's just gotten up every single day, and even through the tears, and through the struggles, he's shown up. Right, and he's been there about his teammates, for his teammates, and he's not made anything about him. And so to persevere, a lot of times, it can't be about you, because we don't have the strength in and of ourselves to just go out there and persevere. There's something that motivates us, something bigger than ourselves that helps us get through it. And I've been asked several questions throughout the course of my life. Well, how did you do it considering the adversity? I really don't know. I just got up every single day. And then now that I've lived a little bit, I can say, my sister motivated me, right? But there was days I was working through tears, right? Because it was my sister. It wasn't because I wanted to. My natural instinct was to just say, you know what, enough's enough. I can't do it anymore. And that's what you see in Mike every single day is, he's found his purpose, so to speak. And he can speak to that, what that actually is. But for me, I see it as a outsider looking in, that there's something bigger than him that he's working towards. And it's just been it's been inspiring to me. And also what you've seen out of Mike is it's really kind of thrust him into a leadership role, and beyond the game of football, right? From a leadership role, from a life perspective. And it's been fun to watch him and inspiring as well.
When did you know he'd be back playing football?
I was erring on the side of caution, to be honest with you. They were telling me that, hey, he's cleared to go, and I'm like, are we sure? Like I know, I trust the doctors, I trust what you're saying, but it's so. And so it wasn't until the first day of spring practice when I saw him running around, and then I knew he was ready to go when he came to me and said, all right, Coach, today's the day. Because there was days where, we had some contact, and I was like, Mike, I'm not making that decision, but you're going to tell me when you're ready. And there was days where we thought, today's the day, and then it's like, nah, Coach, today's not the day. But that day that he took some contact for the first time, and he got up, and man, he was excited about the contact. I said, okay, he's ready to play football again.
Yeah, Coach, I don't think we talked much about it last year, but just your decision process with choosing captains and leadership on this team, and kind of how you went through that, because it changed weekly, which isn't the norm in college football.
Right. So for me, the process is the permanent captains. You vote on that at the end of the year by the team. So the team votes at the end of the year, and so the permanent captains, obviously, we didn't announce until the season was over. But for the game captains, wanted to start with all of the seniors. Give them an opportunity to go out and speak on behalf of the team. Pick whether we're going heads or tails. You coach them up on which direction we want to kick. Do we want to take the ball? So it was kind of a process of, okay, who are my guys that are eligible? Meaning my seniors. And then, okay, geographically, is there a game that's tied to them? Like if we're playing, if we're going to Maryland, do I have any seniors that are from Maryland? Because it'll mean a little something to walk out there. So that's the process, and giving everybody an opportunity to experience that. And then the permanent captains that get to put the C on their jersey at the end of the season for the postseason will be selected by their teammates.
Tony, there's obviously a tribute quality to this season going into it. Mm-hmm. Which can be super inspiring and also kind of go the other way. How do you manage that?
Whew. To be honest with you, I'm trying to figure that out, and I think it's a daily deal, to be honest with you, because we know we have, first and foremost, we have a responsibility to the legacies of Lavelle, Devin, and Deshaun. We have a responsibility to tribute these guys, and there's multiple ways that we're going to do it. Obviously, I've talked about the ways that first and foremost came to me with the patches and the stickers on the helmet, and Ms. Carla administration. They have some more tributes that are going to come out throughout the course of the season. But the biggest tribute I think that we can give those guys as a program is just to go out and play to the best of our ability. Right, play with tremendous amount of passion, effort, toughness. Regardless of what the result is, it's how we play, and then how we play should, determine some positive results. But you want to do as much as you possibly can. You want to be respectful of the families and kind of where they are in their grieving process, and what they're ready for, what's the team, ready for, because we're still grieving. As a football team, as a program, as a department, as a university, as a community, fan base. I mean, we're all still grieving because of the situation. So it's a very, very delicate balance, and that's probably been the hardest part of all of this, is figuring out, okay, where is the team collectively? What's the right message to put in front of them? What image is the right image to show them? Knowing that going, forward, there's always going to be something in front of us. So trying to manage, what's enough, what's not enough, what's too much, is very, and it's day to day, to be honest with you. I woke up this morning and, today I was in a different, place than I was yesterday. And it's the same thing with our team, and we got to figure out, what that is. But we're going to do everything that we possibly can, by the families, by the program, by the university, to have the tributes, the physical tributes, and the memorials and all of that. But I want this football team to do it, which I believe is the most important way, is by how we play on the field, because those guys will never get a chance to step on the grass again.
It seems likely obvious maybe that there's a unifying quality to having gone through something like that together. Have there been times in practice or in meetings when you said, whoa, we need to dial this back a little bit?
Practice-wise, no. I think that practice-wise, what you saw, the 15 practices that we had this spring, is you just saw a ton of energy, a ton of passion. And, that's a part of football, and that's required and essential for you to be able to play to the best of your ability. There's been times where maybe I haven't wanted to have to put it in front of them, but it's necessary based off of, things that we anticipate is going to come to the forefront, down the road. And so I don't know if there's been a case where I've had to say, let's scale it back, but there have been a couple of times where I was just like, man, I wish I didn't have to put this in front of you. And the guys will tell you, I want to be like any parent. I want to say, you know what, give it to me, let me carry it, put it on my shoulders, and I want to insulate them. Unfortunately, I can't do that, right? In this situation, there's going to be certain things that we have to talk about, that we have to be prepared for. And I have a responsibility to try and figure out what's the best way to present that to the guys.
And finally, for me, Mike's spiritual foundation seems to be a huge part of how he's recovered, and maybe how he's assumed a greater role on the team. What can you say about that? I'm sure it's been, it's impacted you, and you have a pretty solid spiritual foundation.
Right.
Just what has that done?
So the way I look at it, at the end of the day, there's really, only a couple things in life that you truly own, and everything else can be taken away from you, right? Your education. The paper, may be shredded, they may, lose it while they're moving you in the house. You may not be able to put that actual degree, but your education, nobody can ever take it from you, right? Your attitude. You wake up and you make that decision, and then your faith, right? Everything else, is futile, to be honest with you, and it can be taken away from you. But when you face adversity, it's going to force you, right, to stand on what you believe. And so that's what it's done for me. And there's been other instances in my life where, I wish my intellect could get me through it. I wish my relationships could get me through it. I wish my resources could get me through it. But at the end of the day, the only thing that could get me through it was to get down on my knees, right, and to tap into a power greater than myself that would actually, guide my steps when I didn't know what to do. And I think that's, part of what Mike is going through now is like he's coming into his own and saying, you know what, I've been tested, and I'm going to have a testimony, but I got to rely, on that inner strength to help me, make the decisions, take the steps that I need to take on a daily basis. And then ultimately, his the revelation will come to fruition. And I think if we're all honest, right, we can all think about a moment where our relationships, our money, right, our intellect, couldn't get us through. And you had to stand on what you believe, and that is whatever your spiritual foundation is.
So this is your second fall camp here. You talked about changing the structure a bit, but has expectations changed a bit because these guys understand what they need to do? It's not learning or installing. They understand what's required. Do you feel like things just move a little quicker pace and you get to move to maybe game one things more quickly?
Great question. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot in that question. The expectations don't change, right? Because the expectations for us as a staff and as a program, they're already set, probably higher than anybody externally can put on us. So the expectations are set. Definitely will be a much easier movement patterns. So we'll be able to not spend as much time on just the fundamentals of how we structure practice, the expectations of the tempo of practice, because everybody has a better understanding. Now, rushing to the game one, we can't do that, right? You can't move too fast, or else you're going to skip steps. So now I think what you have is you have the ability to really, really be more present in the moment and take full advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you, because that's really what football is throughout the process of preparation, did you fully invest in the moment, right, to do what you needed to do to be able to recall it when it comes time. And we don't want to skip steps, but now we can get rid of some of the other things that may have been slowing guys down because they're no longer thinking about that. Well, I understand that, right? I know what practice is going to look like. I know, Coach Elliott's going to be running around and, his hair is going to be on fire. The coaches are going to be intense, right? But it's being done from a place of love, so they're not questioning that anymore. They understand why it's necessary to have the sense of urgency. They understand why we structure practice the way that we structure practice. Now they can be more, present and invested in the moment to be able to create the muscle memory and then the mental thought process that they need to move to the next step as you build to game one.
Your schedule this season features a lot of really good opposing quarterbacks. Milton at Tennessee, Tagovailoa at Maryland, all the kids in the ACC. What's the challenge in that week to week when you've got a guy on the other side that can really throw the football?
All right, get ready, Coach Rudd. That's the challenge. You better be dialed in and ready to go. But each week is going to present a challenge of itself, from quarterback play to every other aspect of the game. I think that once you dive into the game plan, then you'll figure out what the challenges are specific to each quarterback. But really, as a coach, that's what you want. Like you want your guys to see that they're going to be challenged every single day to kind of keep that sense of urgency, to keep them dialed in and motivated. Because you're dealing with young people, right? And they got so many other things going on. But I'm excited about the opportunity, but I'm also excited about the opportunity that we have, right? To hopefully, have our guys prepared and ready to perform so that when it's all said and done, they can be a part of the conversation at the end of the season as Virginia having good quarterback play. But Coach Rudd, the boys on defense, they'll be prepared. They'll be excited, and that's what you want as a competitor, man. You want to play against the best.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good.
I know we talked a couple of days ago about bringing back the fun and things like that. I mean, how are you looking to do that, and how do you kind of use the game of football as a way of it being a therapeutic way of bringing these guys back as well?
Yeah, so I'm reminded of my speech in the locker room right before the spring game, and Mike Hollins' little brother Deuce was in there, and I brought him up in front of the guys, and I pointed to Deuce and I said, I want you to play right like you're this age again. And that's the challenge as you progress levels in the game of football. The business aspect, comes into it. The pressures of the game come into it that take away a little bit of the fun. And then as you also progress, there's a lot more investment that takes place. There's a lot more mundane that you have to be engaged in to fully be prepared to be successful. So to bring the fun back, it starts with the attitude that you walk through the door with, right? Do you walk through the door with the attitude that, I get to play football? Or is it, oh man, I have to go to practice? I want guys to walk through that door like, man, I'm blessed to be able to practice and play. And I think that we have that perspective now, that we always should have, right? And I've battled my entire career to keep that perspective, but now we should have that perspective that we get to walk through the door. It's not a have to, it's not a right, it's a blessing and it's a privilege. It starts there. And then us as coaches, we got to make sure that we manage the pressures, we manage the business piece of it, and we keep that where it needs to be. And when we get out here, on this grass, we honor the grass by playing the kids' game the way that kids used to play. Like, you think about it, man, I watch my two little boys, man, they don't care about none of that stuff. They just want to play. From the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, can I go outside? I just want to play. And they'll make the craziest game. And you'll be as an adult, that don't even make sense, but they're having so much fun, right? They were out there hitting rocks with a stick, and man, you would have thought they were playing in a World Series. So just being mindful of that, and then also making sure that throughout the course of camp, throughout the course of the season, that I take the pressure off of the guys by insulating them and just making sure when we get out here on the grass that we get our work done, and we're dialed in, we're locked in, we're focused. But man, let's have fun doing it. All right.
We were joking with Clint earlier that he's the most tenured guy on this staff now, just kind of with how it's worked out. But what have you seen from him in the past year, just as his growth as a coach?
It's been fun to watch Clint. If you spend any time around him, he's a big, imposing guy. Probably not the first person you're just gonna walk up to and start a conversation with. But when he starts to talk, man, you realize, man, there's a lot of depth to this guy. He's got a great spirit, a really, really big heart. And so what I've seen is that's coming, to fruition, right? I'm starting to see him feel a lot more comfortable, with me. Not a new guy looking over the shoulder like it's Coach Elliott watching me. Like, I'm not watching you from that perspective, man. I just want to, I want to learn from you. What can I learn when I'm observing you? And so you're starting to see the engagement with the players, right? Having fun, the passion, right? Even though he kind of keeps himself cool, calm, and collected and reserved in public, and he's got some fire to him, and I'm starting to see that fire come out. And then I get to see him as a father as well. Him and his wife are a lot more comfortable bringing their two kids around and interacting with the staff. And so I'm starting to just get to see the whole picture of who Clint is. And then I'm amazed every time I hear him talk about the institution and just what it means to him. And so I learn so much about the University of Virginia just by observing him on recruiting visits when he's talking to recruits and families.
Tony, when we talked in Charlotte, you mentioned how there's going to be dates approaching that are going to be more meaningful than others, and obviously the season opener is one of those. Mm-hmm. What do you think that game is going to mean for your team, the community, and how do you think it will feel to be back out there?
I think it's going to be a game full of mixed emotions. I think everybody's going to be extremely excited to play. I think there's going to be guys that are going to be extremely emotional when they walk on the field because it'll be the first time in a true non-spring game setting that they get to play. There's going to be reminders leading up to it that they're taking the field without their brothers that should be on the grass with them. So I think it's going to mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. I think for us at the University of Virginia, our program and our institution, it's one step forward in try to figure out what our new normal is, right? So yes, we have to move forward, but we haven't had a game yet. So this will kind of be our opportunity to, get back to somewhat of a normal routine. I think the guys are going to expect to win, right? They're going to step on the field and they're going to expect to win. And our fan base and our program and our community and university, they're going to expect to win. So it's going to mean a lot of things. The families, I think about the families, what it's going to mean to them. It's going to be mixed emotions, right? They're going to be excited because they want to see, the teammates of their sons have an opportunity to play, but it's also going to be very, very tough, right? Knowing that their sons should be on the field as well. So it's going to be a lot. And so I'm trying not to put my own expectations on it because I know it's going to be kind of all over the place to a lot of people. What I do know is it's going to be emotional for me. I can tell you that. But then I have to be able to transition and hold myself together so that I can do my job to help these young men once the game starts. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to mean a lot. There's always a lot at stake anytime you step on the field, regardless of what the circumstances are around you. You're playing to win. So it's going to be Going to be a lot.
Took our last question from Mike here.
Coach, going into your second year, you came here from a program that was winning, had built itself up to be a winner. Now a year in, do you find similarities and differences, things that worked at Clemson don't work here, things that worked at Clemson that are a perfect fit here? Have you found a lot of that?
I have found some similarities, but I also have found, unique differences, in a good way. The University of Virginia is different from a university perspective from where I came from, right? So some of the things that are integrated there are different in a good way, right? And you won't know that until you're, inside the institution and just trying to figure out what's the best way to incorporate and navigate. From a football standpoint, there's a lot of similarities that I've found. There's a lot of things from a core value standpoint, structure standpoint that are carryover, and there's also some things that along the way I said, you know what, that's probably not going to fit, exactly here. So let's kind of regroup, figure out what's the best way to make it fit. University of Virginia, and I've said this, and I'll continue to say this, not trying to make this place that place. Right, trying to make this place the best version that it could be here, right? And it's going to take time, effort, and you talked about building up to where they were. I think a lot of people focus on the right now and the recent history, but before that, there was a lot of work that went into building that, and it was kind of trial and error as well, right? So there are some tried and true things that carry over. There's a uniqueness about the institution that naturally wouldn't allow for things to work, and we're kind of figuring those things out and incorporating them. And then there's going to be, things that we're going to be uncovering along the way too, right? Because I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned in year one is, man, you don't try to anticipate, man. Just know that something's coming and be ready to respond when it does come.
Anything specific you could share that was matching up or not matching up as an example?
I think when you look at the pace at which things were operating, right? You look over there, it's kind of a well-oiled machine, and so a lot of things just from an operational standpoint were different, right? There were parts of the program that were further advanced, nutrition, so to speak, right? The academic structure is different, right? And so those are areas where you kind of have a plan, but that plan may not fit exactly because things are not to that level yet. And that's where, and I've admitted this, and I'm transparent about it. That's where I had to grow and say, you know what, I got to slow down here, right? We're going to get to there, but let's make sure that we're taking the proper steps and not just trying to jump, because you can't jump, right? You're gonna fall off the cliff, so to speak, right? You got to build that bridge so you can get there.